Hey everybody, my name is Ron Johnson. I've been working for Contigix for a little bit over 7 years now. I'm a sales engineer, account executive, and sysadmin that came from the support team. We've been supporting and managing, building, implementing Drupal solutions since 2007.
Today we're going to ask you a bunch of questions, some that we know that the normal customer coming to you might ask you, and others that some customers and prospects have submitted on our social media. We're going to Contigix supports thousands of Drupal environments. After seeing so many different requirements and client sizes over the years, what does a typical Drupal environment look like?
I would say the typical Drupal environment sits behind an enterprise hardware firewall, and then it has your typical web front end tier, and then your database back end, and everything in between. So the front end, we typically want to run the web services on Apache. The back end, we typically run the database engine on MySQL or MariaDB, one and the same, essentially. A typical tuned Drupal site is going to have a good varnish caching config along with some other tools like Redis or Memcache, as well as Opcache, all working together with a solid configuration for Apache and MySQL and the Linux OS and your PHP config and all of that. I would say that's a pretty standard environment, and then folks may need high availability or failover, disaster recovery, replication, and things of that nature.
Thanks so much. That'll be great for anybody that's building their own environment in their data center or anybody that might be looking for a hosting provider. All right, we're going to move on to question number 2. What is the most common challenge that your customers face when attempting to manage their Drupal environment?
Good question. I'd say there's a few, and we can start with, let's say, performance tuning. It's always going to be a big challenge because Drupal can be a bear to run on the server side. So you want to partner with a good hosting provider that has a solid understanding of performance tuning to get yourself a good varnish caching setup and Redis, Memcache, Opcache, things of that nature. So you want to make sure you work with a host that can fully understand and tune those applications so your site is running as fast as it possibly can. I would say another bullet point there would be troubleshooting, and you need to, I would say and advise you should work with a good and solid host that has an understanding of the Drupal application inside and out, because you're going to run into issues with your Drupal site that could fall, on the hosting provider, but they also fall on your development agency. So you want to make sure to partner up with a host that can understand the Drupal issues that are going to come up so they can assist with what falls under the hosting company side and then let you know what falls under your developer's hat there. And so we can point you in the right direction with that when things come up. I would also say core updates or module updates is another item where you really need to stay on top of those updates because I would say the majority of the time when a site gets compromised, it's through lack of updates on the site. So we can help you with those updates. We can apply core module updates anytime based on your schedule. Your developers can do that and things of that nature.
Those are great tips. Thank you, Ron. Again, great for anybody looking for a hosting partner or just building their own Drupal site in-house. Number 3, what advice do you have for Drupal site optimization?
Well, Drupal site optimization, the core components here of what I've been mentioning before are really going to be a finely tuned LAMP stack. So starting from the Linux OS and your OS templates all the way up to your Apache and MySQL and PHP. And, any out-of-the-box config for Drupal for these components is not going to be suitable. So we need to and have tuned these settings for Apache, MySQL, and PHP. But moreover, you're going to need some additional components in that environment, and these are the ones that I have been mentioning previously. That's Varnish, Memcache or Redis, and Opcache, and those are just going to work together to formulate an overall caching strategy to extract the most performance as possible out of your hosting environment. And if you do work with us, we can fully tune all those components for you, and that is just included in our expert support that we provide with your solution.
Great. Thanks so much, Ron. Um, now we're going to move on to one question that was asked on our Facebook site by Julia. What tips do you have for a smooth migration or deployment?
Well, a few here, and it would be a good understanding of the source server and environment, where your site's coming from, what your requirements are, such as PHP version and any other software required, like if you use Apache Solr for search, things of that nature. You'll want to have access to that environment so we can gain access to it as well, because we do offer full migration support of your sites to our platform if you work with us. And from there, I mean, that's pretty much it. You just want to have a solid understanding of the site and the technology it uses, as well as the source environment where it's coming from.
Great. Thanks so much. Next question. How will monitoring and metrics help me efficiently manage my Drupal site?
Yeah, I mean, monitoring and metrics are essential to managing any Drupal site, because you have metrics that either going to fall onto like the server side for your hosting performance and whatnot, and that is stuff we provide out of the box. And that's going to be critical for establishing baselines and looking at usage over the course of the next many months or years to see where the solution is and how it's doing, and where it's gone from the baseline. And then you also have performance monitoring metrics on the application side, stuff like New Relic. And there's many other tools out there, but that's going to be extremely important for you and your developers just to monitor and look at performance and efficiency for how your site's running, and just going from there.
Great. Next question. What sort of developer tools do you recommend?
Well, I mean, we recommend really anything that you all need. I mean, when we're looking at a Drupal environment out of the box, I mean, we're going to have tools like such as Drush, pre-installed, things of that nature. But we offer some development workflow tools as well. One of those tools is called Cascade, and that is essentially a web interface that integrates with Git and a few other items on the back end. And that tool will show you your production, development, and staging environments, as well as your code and the different branches in Git. And it will allow you to essentially click buttons to move your code in between development, staging, and production, as well as the database, and restart some services. Outside of that, tool-wise, I mean, it's really comes down to your requirements, what your developers' requirements are, and just know that if you do work with us, the limitations of tools you can use are that they need to work on the Linux operating system. So you can literally customize your solution with any tool in our environment as needed.
And so you guys have the expertise. If we were to come to you telling you what our requirements are, you'd be able to help us pick out which tools would best help us run our Drupal site efficiently?
Yes, for sure. During the discovery and the sales phase, we'll have a seasoned sales engineer and account executives work with you that have done many of these migrations and setups, and they'll have plenty of questions to run by you, and we will work with you through that phase to get you a solution that meets 100% of your needs.
Oh, very valuable. Thank you. We're going to move on to another question submitted by Lindsay on Facebook. What are some of the unique challenges with DR and backup that Drupal users face?
Well, I would say it's just making sure your requirements are implemented, whether you need or local backups in the same data center fine from the host, you need offsite backups. What are your DR requirements? Do you have an RTO and an RPO that you're trying to meet? Things of that nature. And then once you let us know about those requirements, then we can put together a backup and DR strategy for your specific business. And we can do anything from our default offering, which allows just local backups of the servers every night in the local data center. We can do offsite backups and ship those backups to another data center, or we can go as far as a fully fledged disaster recovery environment with replication, where we have a production environment in one location and then a cross-country disaster recovery solution that takes near real-time web and database replication from production. So should you need to fail over to DR, you have an up-to-date copy of your site and all your code and databases.
Wow, sounds like you have all the bases covered for what any user might need. That's great. When developing a DR strategy for your Drupal site, what are a few key points to take into consideration?
What your RTO and RPO is, what your goals are in DR, I would say is a big thing, because we can replicate your entire production environment out to DR, and that would obviously give you a fully functional environment of the same specification, so it can handle the same traffic loads. Mm-hmm. Another option is to do something more scaled down to where maybe you just have like a maintenance page or a sorry page up, something along those lines. So it really comes down to what your requirements are, what you want your services and your sites to look like to your end users during a DR event. And then once you let us know what those might be, we can turn that into a solution for you.
It's fully customizable. That's great. Have you found any challenges in creating a FedRAMP compliant Drupal environment?
Well, no, not really. We just need to fully understand the requirements here, because I would say each agency or to go into the FedRAMP Secure Cloud is typically going to have their own specific security requirements, and thankfully we can literally meet all of them because our environments are fully customizable from the data center floor up to the servers and all the software on the servers, including the network and things of that nature. So we haven't ran into an install yet where we couldn't meet the requirements, security or not, within a FedRAMP environment.
Oh, great, great. One other question posted on Facebook from Amanda. My company is a nonprofit. Would a Drupal site be good for us?
Yeah, I think it would. Because Drupal is free when it comes down to it, so it's not going to cost you much money. But the community is great. There's lots of developers out there. It's supported by a very large community. There's lots of modules, plugins, so you can extend the site. Some say the learning curve can be a bear, but I would say that is with anything. There's lots of resources out there, lots of training, lots of conferences. So the fact that it's open source and free, I think, is awesome for your nonprofit. If you don't have the development skills in-house, though, I would definitely look to partner with a development agency that does specialize in Drupal so they can support you in your operations.
Thank you. We're going to wrap this up, but I want to end on something straight from you, Ron. If I had to know one or two key things to keep in mind about managing my Drupal tools, what would they be?
Good question. First thing that comes to mind is security and managing your Drupal site and tools, and it's to keep everything up to date at all times to reduce your attack vectors and keep things as secure as possible. So that goes from keeping, of course, the systems in your Drupal site up to date, as well as all the tools and whatnot. And then I would probably say another item would be support. You want to have a good support system in place if you're using Drupal, both on the development side and the hosting side. You want to have a developer or agency that understands Drupal, has worked with Drupal, knows its in and outs, and I would say that also applies to the hosting company. You want to be aware of hosts that say they can host anything, they host Drupal, and while anybody can host a Linux server with a LAMP stack on it, not everybody can host Drupal. Not everybody knows how to do performance tuning on Drupal. Not everybody knows how to fix Drupal when it spectacularly breaks, which it will over time. Let's hope, knock on wood, that it doesn't do it too much, but if you need our support during those times, our guys are there and available anytime.
Right, downtime costs money, and you don't want to have too much downtime and risk all the lost sales you might get or loss of reputation or things like that for having a down site. Those are great pieces of advice. And Ron, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and I hope that all of the viewers find all your expert tips valuable. Thank you so much. Everybody have a great day.
Thanks for your time. You're welcome.